Picked up an old 87 Autocar. I'm looking for, 7 years for one this clean. It's got 70,000 miles on the odometer. PT240 Cummins, 6+1 Spicer tranny. I'm still going through her. I have fuel leaking out the cap and the vent on both sides, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? No problem. Yeah, that tank's on upside down and backwards, so I think that might have to do with it. Why if this side can't vent. I get 2 new front tires ASAP. That'll be next week. I gotta find some bad grounds with the wiring harness for the headlights and the power lights. I gotta burp the power steering. Comes out of the reservoir every now and again. It's a little wet. Easy enough. She's super clean on the inside. This is actually dirty right now. She looks clean over there. Don't mind the dash being all up hot. I've already dug into it. Gotta clean up the headlight switch a little bit, which I've gone everywhere for a new one and nobody has it. So eBay it is, or just clean up the old one. Same thing with the dimmer switch. A little crusty over here. PTO right here. Clutch in, obviously engage it, which is funny because there's that plow pump on the front. So not only for the dump head, but it makes the plow pump active the minute you engage that too. Which maybe that's normal. That's new to me. Dump head up and down. Comes off the harmonic balancer to the pump, and then when you push the PTO in, it engages this arm, goes in, and then it makes the pump live. And you activate your main piston, and there you go. Some new air cans. What else we got? The air dryer wasn't purging. You know, you build the 120, that, and then the governor would keep going. So I tossed a new air dryer. It was actually pretty cheap. That was like, I want to say it was like 150, 180 bucks, which wasn't as bad as I thought. Though it says you can see they were dry rotting to absolute hell. I mean, they had just cooked. Take care of that. Yeah, I was telling you guys, doing it live. That thing is always live. Push the clutch in, engage the spline, boom. Really right. Crazy low idle on these PT240s. Alright, gotta get to work on this one. These pistons are pretty devo. Well, unfortunately she's got green coolant in there, which doesn't have the SCAs, you know, the nitrate to help cushion the air bubbles that cavitate the liners in these things. I got both filters. This one doesn't have the additive. I think it's like a nitrate ball in it. This one does, you can hear it. So I'm gonna put that one in there that hedges against it from cavitating, just so you guys know. Back in the day, the Cummins ones Cummins water filters came with a dry chemical that had a pre-charged element in it. She seized on there, and she was filtering all right. Yeah, she was filtering corrosion from the block because he didn't use the right coolant, because there's no nitrate filter on there. We prevented that completely. That's what you don't want to see in a water filter. It's important shit. Is why you get your manuals, do everything right, go through the truck, because you're just going to do more damage. Alright, she's all mounted up, ready to go. Just remember to open your valves back up. You got one right there, and the one down there. So just when you shut those off, remember to open them back up. So I'm going to do 2 or 3 flushes with distilled water, get the shit out of here. And then on the last one, put some good SCA coolant in. The serpentine belt is the V-belt for the fans. And lastly, these are the alternator belts. So water filter with the SCA inhibitor. That's if you have like, regular coolant in there. You need the additive. I mean, if you have the good coolant in, this is the one you want. There's no additive in this filter. The water filters, I don't know if that's going to help anybody. We shall see. I also have a B95 and 96 in there too. That might take the place of this. I gotta make sure it fits, so that way they're both Baldwins. But I got that one just in case, because I know that one fits. So this is per the DK manual. These are getting pretty tough to find, so I figured it might help somebody out. Another, little note: don't use antifreeze with any leak additives. It's gonna clog up and restrict your water filter, restrict the flow. So if you're in a pinch, don't do it. Just get the right stuff. Moving on to the belts. You're gonna have 3 ace of play, no more than that. Midway on your belts, any tighter, you're gonna put too much tension on your pulleys, and what does that do? You create too much heat and smoke your bearings prematurely. So I got like, I don't know, 1/2 inch, 3/4, if not more, and they're pretty dry rotted. So those are getting gutted. Check all that crap. Serpentine belt you might as well do while you're that deep. So you got your 4 mountain bolts. Loosen those up. You got your adjustment bolt right there. Same thing for the serpentine. Loosen that knot to tighten. And then you got your adjustment bolt right there. Right. Bring this down a little bit. Don't crack your shroud. Watch it. Just get it off of here. Come over the fan. Take your serpentine belt right off over here. While everything's off, wiggle your pulleys around a little bit. Check the health of the bearings. If any of them are wobbling around, you might wanna rebuild them. We'll just get new bearings for them. Put it all back together. Tension it to 3/8. Grease all your fittings, and there you go. The new one's on there. Just going to do the alternator belt, and all you're gonna do, loosen that bolt right there. And at least for mine, here's probably different. I gotta take off this PTO shaft. So I've already taken the 3 Allen head bolts. Let's see, there's one more down there. Pop that off, and then I'll be able to get these belts off the alternator, off the pulley around the harmonic balancer and out of there, and then pop the new ones in. Probably a good idea to just mark with yellow marker or black marker, where these go, just in case it's spun. It might stay, but you just want to put it back the same way. And put it all back together and tension it. Then our belt's all set. Now your battery's disconnected. One thing you should always do with the older trucks is start going through your ground. So you got one nasty one up there, you can kind of see. Take that shroud off, make it easy, clean it up, dielectric grease. Pop that off, clean it up, dielectric grease. Just go through the whole thing. You know how it is. You hit one good bump, manual cover when you're plowing, knock one of those loose, and you're looking at a nightmare on the side of the road. So just save yourself the headache and take care of all the mystery now. New flasher, pretty self-explanatory. Pull it out. This one's a 2-prong. Alright. Just like that. And brought in. There you go. Yank this old crusty 12-volt solenoid off and replace it with the new one. Like I said, clean up the terminals with some sandpaper, put some dielectric grease on there, and there you go. Alright, should look something like that. Don't be afraid of grease all the terminals on it, and just cut your zip ties off after, and you're good to go. Hopefully this helps somebody else out. I replaced the starter solenoid, went to go start it up, and I got nothing, not even clicking. I'm like, huh, what the hell's going on here? The ring terminal was split in half, so I'm like, oh, alright, that must have been the problem. So I replaced that. Go to start it up, nothing. Come to find out, this solenoid actually has to ground against the cab, and right now I've only got one bolt in it, and there was a shit ton of rust where it mounts up. You can't see it now. I grinded it all off. I think it'd be a good idea to run the auxiliary ground, you know, somewhere from the frame, moving the motor up to your solenoid. You should never have a problem when you're plowing, or just run it, you know, day to day, whether you plow or not. Buddy. Painted. Looks like shit in the video. Mid-50s weekend coming up in December in New England, so today I gotta sand all the oil pan down, and the bell housing, and the transmission, and with the rear shackle mount for the spring. Instead of rebushing it, get that other shark bolt out and paint it up. Now I get the weather coming this weekend, and finally gets the suspension getting hung up again. The new spring's there, so tidy her up as best we can without sandblasting this year, and you know, do the best we can in New England proof it. Alright, real quick, I'm just gonna go over what led to the Autocar suspension overhaul. This was a town truck before, and some of these towns just don't keep up on maintenance as much as you think. It's only got 70,000 miles, and has a really heavy plow setup on the front, so greasing the front end is vital when you're running with that much weight on the front. I'm going to show you what happens when you don't grease, especially with solid pins. There goes your bushing, and the real nail in the coffin was when the leaf packs are snapped, plus you get rust jacking. So if you keep running leaf pack irresponsibly with a cracked leaf, it can walk out on you as you're hitting bumps, shear your expensive tube tires, and you could end up killing a family, or you know, anybody else on the road if you're on the highway or even a back road. So that's why you do a pre-trip. Don't be irresponsible. Alright, well, those are the old springs. The weight capacity was 8,115 pounds. The part number is 13-302. And while I'm in there, I'm like, might as well up the weight rating, right? So went to these new ones. They're 13-318. Their weight rating is 10,160 pounds a piece. They weren't that cheap. They're about 789 bucks a piece. You pay for the heavy duty stuff, but I'd rather have that extra weight capacity, especially when you get that heavy setup on the front, you know what I mean? So you guys the rest of the carnage that we found in there. The rear hangers for the springs. Alright, this is what new bushing's supposed to look like. Press it on in there. That's what it looks like when it's fresh. Nice and crisp. Dimples for the grease. Well, when you don't grease your pins, you got a lot of weight on the front. This is what it ends up looking like. Absolute junk, right? And what takes the stress of that? Your bushings. I got real lucky. I mean, these things were potato chip thin, if not thinner. A couple hundred more miles would have been walling out the mount. That's a $350 mount, and you'd be replacing those. So why it's vital to grease your front end. There's the shocks. I mean, those had to be replaced too, obviously, just wear. Real quick, the bushings, for anybody who's wondering, it's part number PLK-BM, 16 bucks a piece. New shocks, show you those in the truck. They're part number M66833, 70 bucks a pop. And then new pins, same thing in the truck. Part number 327384, and those are 25 bucks a whack. Yeah. So you're gonna clean up the old shackles, paint those. Cleaned up the old bump stops. All the hardware is getting tossed. That hardware was not cheap. A couple $100. This is the new shocks. That's what your pins are supposed to look like. It's a U-bolt kit. Same thing. It wasn't cheap either. It was a 1/2 inch. Part number UBK-78. It's 44 bucks a piece. Cleaned up the dogs, painted those, so just about ready. A little bit more cleaning up, hang everything back up, and we're good. Tail end of February here in New England, starting to get the spring showers, but I figure I'd give an update. So I'll paint it up. Springs, bushings, pins, everything's all good. Just getting there. So now my next issue is these MGM brake cans. I had to cut them off, and the lock nuts are just, they're in there good, so I gotta weld the nut on these, get the shafts out, and then send them to MGM in North Carolina and have them make some new ones for it. Getting pretty hard to find, and then rebuild everything in there. Coming down to the end for the front end.